Hi everybody. Today we are talking about how to acknowledge when caregiving causes anxiety and what you can do about it, whether you are the person who is the caregiver or the person who is receiving care. So are you feeling anxious? Are you on edge all of the time? Do you rarely get a good night's sleep because your brain won't stop thinking? Are you worrying constantly and feeling emotionally and physically exhausted? If you are the person who receives care, you could have so many worries about your health, feeling dependent on the person that you care for. If you're the caregiver, you could be nearing a point where you are just lacking any empathy for the person that you care for because you've done so much. Yet, what probably isn't happening in this care situation is having conversations between the caregiver and the care receiver about the effects of the stresses on this relationship. If you're the care receiver, has your caregiver become short-tempered or impatient or angry? If so, is it time for you to figure out a different plan for you to have care from someone else who is not in your family? Caregivers, if you're feeling anxious, did you start out helping a few hours a week and then all of a sudden, over time, caregiving has consumed your entire life? So as a result, you are feeling anxious, you have compassion burnout to the point where you're like, I'm done. I just want to walk away from this. I don't have the energy anymore. So the risk of being in this situation for the caregiver and the care receiver is that all of these emotions, resentment, frustration, feeling dependent on somebody else, it doesn't make anyone feel good. And it actually can be harmful because you become in this situation of worry of like, well, what's going to happen next? Are they going to be angry with me about this? I don't want to have to ask for help even though I need it. And so all of these emotions just create an unsustainable situation in the long term. So stay with me while I offer 4 things for you to think about to relieve anxiety regardless of whether you're the caregiver or the care receiver. 1 is to acknowledge what you feel. 2 is to initiate problem-solving conversations. 3 is being really clear on what you want. And then 4 is managing your emotions and the faith to move ahead. So I'll share steps for all of these. If this is your first time on my channel, I'm Pamela D Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert who helps older adults and their caregivers navigate the health, financial, legal aspects of caring, including the complexities of family relationships, which honestly can be the hardest part of caregiving. And I do this through virtual and telephone consultations. I also serve as an expert witness for attorneys in cases of guardianship, conservatorship, power of attorney, care management, elder abuse, and neglect. You can learn more about me by going below this video. There are links to my website, PamelaDWilson.com, my About Me tab, how to schedule a consultation, expert witness pages, online courses, all of that. Please do like this video, follow my channel, share these videos, comment, even if it's only to say thank you. One thank you or comment helps a lot of other people find their way here. So let's start with number 1, acknowledging and talking about feelings and emotions. We always don't do this in a positive manner, let's be honest. Sometimes we complain too much. Sometimes we blame other people. Sometimes we're just telling everybody in the world because we want attention and we want other people to feel sorry for us. Well, having conversations with other people besides the person that you have the problem with is not going to help. It may make you feel better for a few minutes, but it's not going to help. Caregiver anxiety, care receiver anxiety. Let's admit it, it's not a good feeling when you wake up every day thinking, oh, something's just going to go wrong today. What is going to be the problem? And especially if you're a caregiver and you're struggling to care for an elderly parent. And let's say there's just a lot of things you don't know, like you're not quite sure what your parents' health problems are, or you think they have a health problem, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. Maybe your elderly parent has some early memory loss and you're thinking, well, is this going to turn into dementia or Alzheimer's? Should I do anything? Should I ignore it? Should I just wait and kind of see what happens? You could also be a new caregiver and you're feeling like, I am in over my head. I didn't realize what I was getting into when I said, yeah, sure, I'll help out. And now it's been months or years later and you're still helping out and you don't know how to get out of the situation. On the other hand, you may be that caregiver or care receiver who you're just tired all the time because you have health problems. But the question to ask yourself is, what are you doing about it? How could you possibly feel better? Are you following your doctor's recommendations? Maybe you live in a house that's just too much to take care of, and so you're expecting your kids to come over and clean your house and mow your lawn and shovel your snow and do all this kind of stuff. Regardless of what side of a care situation you're on, it's important to ask yourself, how sustainable is this current situation? What if health problems get worse? What if more care is needed? Is this the best possible situation for everybody involved? And it can be hard to consider the best possible situation for everyone involved if you're dependent on somebody else, right? Because you need them. You want them to help you. You don't want them to stop helping you, right? So you're kind of in a difficult position as this care receiver. And caregivers can feel the same way. They can feel guilty, like, oh, I should take care of my mom or dad, but man, I'm really miserable. I'm really burned out. So by acknowledging your feelings, you can understand, believe it or not, how to move ahead. And all this anxiety, it shows up in a lot of ways. Maybe you have headaches, stomach aches. You can't concentrate. You can't focus. You're having trouble at work. You're irritated at every little tiny thing. You're not sleeping. You're eating junk food all the time. And so it's important to have conversations about care situations. Now, the other thing that you have to consider is that people do have expectations. So a spouse, an elderly parent, may have expectations about how caregiving is supposed to work out. Yet I can tell you, very few people, they do not talk about this in advance. How do I know this? When I was a care manager, people would come into my office, older adults, couples, and they'd be like, Pamela, I want to make a plan for my care and I want to think about this and this and this and this. And I would say, well, who's going to be your caregiver? And they would say, well, our children. And my question back to them would be, well, have you had this conversation with them? Have you asked them? And to no one's surprise, the answer was, no, we haven't. Why not? No one should ever make an assumption that somebody is going to step up and take care of you unless you have these conversations, preferably before you need care. And if you're a caregiver and you're already in the early stages of caregiving, put the brakes on. Have some honest conversations today about what's happening, how you're feeling, what is and what is not possible. Do not fall into the pressure of family expectations or other people telling you what you should do. Because caregiving, it's a stressful job. Now, it's okay to share your feelings and your stresses with close friends who understand you, right? And even better, share your feelings with the person you care for in a very balanced and non-judgmental way. It could kind of sound like this. Hey, you know what, Mom? I am feeling a little stressed today with everything that I have to do. So please be patient with me because I am not at my best. I'm a little on edge today. And I don't want to say things that I might regret. Or you could say, hey, Dad, so you got this long list of things that you need me to do. Can you pick 2 that I can do for you? Because I have to make some time for myself. I have put so many of my life projects on hold. I've got so many things that are just backing up. I've got to pay attention to myself this weekend or for the next week or for the next 2 weeks. Make these statements about your feelings about you and what you're doing and how you're feeling. Take accountability for the fact that you feel stressed because you have agreed to do all of these things through your actions. Now, while you may not have said, yes, I agree to do this, your doing is agreement. And if the person you care for asks you what's going on, just simply say, hey, you know what? I love you, but all of this time on projects is causing me a lot of stress and anxiety, and it's causing problems in other areas of my life. I'm trying to work this out. I'm trying to figure it out. When I have a plan, I'll share it with you. If you want to talk about it, let me know. Or if you have any ideas, let me know. Simple and to the point. Stick to the facts. Don't go into blame. If the person that you care for is offended or upset, they own their feelings, not you. Now, naturally, they may be a little concerned and a little worried because they're hearing from you that this is not working out, that it's not good for them, and they need you. So both people have to take accountability for where they are. If you're the person receiving care and you're hearing this and you're thinking, oh, that doesn't sound good, I'm worried, it's going to make me more anxious, well, thank the person who's helping you and then ask yourself, how can you do more to take care of yourself and remain independent? What can you do to rely less on other people to take care of you? Because this situation may not always be possible. Now, what's possible is for you to put yourself in a paid care situation. You're paying a caregiver or help to come into your home, or you sell your home and you move to an assisted living community. That is a better situation where you are actually more in control of your daily life and the help that you can have because you're paying for it, right? You're not relying on somebody to give up their life, give up their job, sacrifice their retirement planning, their marriage, their dreams of getting married, they're going to school, all of that kind of stuff. I mean, the caregivers in your family that are helping you, they are giving up things for you. And sometimes they can do that. I mean, sometimes people can do it and it's a wonderful situation. But in so many situations, because of my personal experience, I know it's not always possible forever. So when you look at this, you've got to start looking at the problem. This is number 2. What's the problem here? Start talking between you and the care receiver until you can figure out the problem. The problem may be you're doing more than you can do. The problem may be your parents' health conditions are getting worse and they're not doing anything about it, or they expect too much. So then you have to start looking at, okay, so what are the alternatives? What are the options to this present situation? What else can we do? And this is where you kind of have to go beyond your personal experience, because all of us, when we have a problem to solve, we solve it based on like our past experience or how we solved something in the past. And there may be some like really good options out there or ideas out there or information out there that we just haven't found, that we just have not considered that would be the perfect solution to this problem. Or honestly, you may be in a situation where you are just too tired and burned out and you're like, I can't even think. I don't even want to think about this. But the problem is if you don't think about it, it's going to get worse. So do not be the other person who expects other people to solve your problems. You can go ask for help from people. You can go do your research. You can schedule counseling sessions or consultations with people like myself to get information. And then you take all that information and you put it together and you figure out what you're going to do about it, right? So in these situations when you're talking with your loved one, right, you want to understand the other person's feelings, because sometimes we just we just tend to see things like a one-way street, right? We can't understand how somebody else could be feeling differently. We make judgments or we make personal comparisons. Now, when I do family counseling sessions, this can happen a lot. Somebody in the family will say, well, so-and-so did this or that in the past. Or they start blaming other people for their problems. Like, well, mom or dad, you did this, or you did this, or you did this. Not taking accountability for your part in that relationship is not going to help you solve the problem. If you want to dwell on all these emotional issues and everything, go see a counselor to deal with your emotions. In situations where you're trying to solve problems, you have to look at the facts. And sometimes we don't like the facts. What do we care what other people are doing? The problem is right here, right in front of us, and we have to figure it out, which means we have to reframe problems and we have to be open to different ways of doing things and new information and other things that we may not even know about a care situation. I mean, just think of this. You're taking care of a parent with Alzheimer's or dementia. You've never done this before. There's a lot that you do not know, even though you may not want to admit that, right? If you are a power of attorney for somebody, how many times have you done this before? Do you know what your responsibilities are? Do you know what you're supposed to do? Same thing if you're a guardian or a conservator. Caregiving is this unknown factor that just takes on a life of its own. You're navigating care in a hospital and with doctors and with government health care systems like Medicare and Medicaid. It's very complicated. There is no way on earth anybody who doesn't do this professionally or hasn't done it for a number of years can know what the right thing to do is. Sometimes you just don't know what to do, which is many times why you get stuck. And sometimes you may not even be able to come to an agreement over what the problem is, right? So, for example, the caregiver may feel like they are doing too much and the elderly parent or the spouse is like, oh, you're just not doing enough for me. Well, in those situations, if you really can't come to an agreement and you are being harmed as the caregiver, your health is getting worse, you're emotionally distraught, you're worried all the time, you're having problems at work, problems in your family, problems with your kids, you have to decide to make a change to change the situation. And so one question to ask in these situations is, well, how can help or care be provided with the least amount of reliance on another person, being the caregiver? How can mom or dad become as independent and self-sufficient as possible if they want to? So when you're trying to solve these problems and figure out what's going on, write down your list of how can we do this? How can we do that? And then hold yourself accountable for how that happened. So maybe you've been a little too helpful and your parents became too dependent on you. And now they expect you to do these 20 things every weekend because you started doing them. Well, you had a part in that. Now you have to reverse that. So hold yourself accountable for how you have contributed to the problems in this caregiving relationship. Maybe you're an elderly parent and you haven't taken good care of your health and you don't like going to the doctor even though it's good for you, and you don't like taking medications even though they might be good for you. So hold yourself accountable. Create a timeline. Don't let these anxious, frustrating situations drag out over weeks or months or years. I see a lot of that with caregivers because, let's face it, dealing with conflict is hard. Having a conversation with someone when you think that they are not going to like the conversation can be something that you just dread. You may lose a lot of sleep over this. And so to kind of put yourself in a place where you can move ahead, you have to focus your emotions on the positives. Okay, you've got to somehow get crystal clear about what you want in this care situation and what you don't want. And so you have to believe in yourself though first. Believe that you can do this, because so many caregivers get burned out and exhausted, and they're like, oh, I can't do this. I can't change my situation. Nothing is possible. Well, it is. But you have to make up your mind that it's possible. You have to make up your mind about what you want. And most of all, you have to have faith or some type of belief in your thoughts and your feelings, because situations don't change overnight. You will continue to live through uncertainty and challenges and opposition. The opposition is people saying, well, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. Or the person you care for saying, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this. Or you may be the person in opposition. You may be the person who's like, oh, I don't want to change. I don't want to do the work to change. I'm too tired to change. Why should I have to change? Well, change is the only way forward if you're unhappy, if you're miserable, if you're anxious, unless you want to stay that way, which that's choice. So let's say that you are a person who doesn't believe in faith, or maybe you had faith at one time and things didn't work out and you're like, oh, I just don't believe anymore. Well, you've got to find a way to find your faith. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be reading a Bible, reading some motivational books, listening to motivational speakers, joining a community of faith, praying, creating some kind of daily ritual that just starts your day and ends your day on a calm, positive note. So what leads people to develop faith? Sometimes it's our upbringing. If we were brought up in a community of faith and our parents were religious or spiritual, we may have grown up with that. But we may have walked away from that because maybe we didn't like it or we didn't believe in it. And so life-changing events, life-altering events, people going through difficult times, divorces, losing jobs, people dying in your family, all of that, that sometimes can bring people back to, oh, I need to reestablish my faith. I need something to believe in. I need some hope. And if you've lost your faith as a caregiver, maybe the person that you care for has also lost their faith. They're like, why do I have all these health problems and these struggles and these illnesses, and why do I have to take all these treatments and everything like that? I mean, there may just be a total breakdown in faith and self-belief that anything can get better. But it can, because you've probably seen this in your life. Nothing stays the same forever. Things change from year to year. But change that is self-initiated, it's an inside mental activity. We choose whether we're going to change or we're not going to change. And maybe you want to change and the person you care for isn't like all in. Maybe you have a spouse or an elderly parent who constantly refuses, and they're like, I'm not going to do that. I don't like that. I'm just not going to do it. Well, that's their choice. But if you are providing the help and the help goes away, they're eventually going to have to choose differently. So one change in one part of life can cause changes in other parts of life. Choosing or refusing is everybody's choice. The thing that you have to do for yourself is paint a picture of, what does this look like if I choose this? What does this look like if I refuse this? What are the consequences of my choice? And that can allow you to say, well, then maybe I should consider this even though I don't want to do it. Or, gosh, that I thought that was a good idea, but maybe it's not a good idea. So you've got to grow faith in yourself to identify the problems and make choices, and then have a belief that you can do what you want to do. Be determined. Be disciplined. Say, I'm not going to give up on this. Even though there are days when I would love to give up on this and I hate this, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to act this way anymore. I'm not going to get impatient or angry because that doesn't make me feel good. Or I'm going to say yes to more ideas when people try to help me. I'm going to stop thinking narrowly. I'm going to stop dismissing other people just because they think differently. Maybe they have some thoughts or ideas that could be really good for me. And the reason that we kind of do this, we fall into these traps is, well, it's easier to do, right? It's easier to avoid people who think differently rather than make the time to engage in discussions and understand other people, right? Because when you think about that, you're in the situation that you're in because you didn't have discussions with the person that you care for, or you didn't have discussions with your caregiver, and you didn't try to understand how they feel. So now you're taking that experience and you're putting it on everything else in your life, which just makes it more difficult. You cannot ignore, well, you can, but you cannot ignore all this anxiety and frustration because eventually something's going to happen. You as the caregiver are going to want to just leave and disappear, and then what is your parent going to think? Well, what did I do? Why did they leave? They seemed perfectly happy here. I've seen that happen in care situations. So all of these people in your life, the spouse that you care for, the elderly parent that you care for, maybe your siblings or your husband or wife, they're all affected by you and your anxiety and your worry. Just as if you're the person who needs care, your anxiety and your worry is affecting other people. There has to be a time where you have to choose to do something about it. And it can be hard to do. I'm not saying that it's easy, but you have to be open. If you're that caregiver, the conversation is, you know what? I just can't be the caregiver anymore. Or I can do this, but I can't do that. And you as that caregiver then have to have the faith that this situation is going to work out for the best intentions and best good of everybody. If you're the care receiver, look at your caregiver saying, hey, I can't do this anymore, as an opportunity for you to learn some new things, to grow your confidence, to be more independent. Why should you need other people to do everything for you if you can do it yourself? Now, honestly, I will say there are things that, people can do and they can't do as they age. But, when it comes to physical ability, honestly, even a 90-year-old can gain physical strength. Even a 90-year-old can improve their balance. Even a 90-year-old can walk a mile if they believe and if they want to. It's all about wanting to have control over our lives and not be independent on other people, to be able to make our own choices rather than to feel like we're in situations where caregivers say to me, well, I didn't have a choice. I had to care for my mom or dad. No, you had a choice. And your mom or dad had a choice about whether they expected you or needed you to have care. They could have done something to improve their life and remained independent. Now, admittedly, this is not possible in all situations where there is dementia or Alzheimer's, or there's been a tragic accident or anything else like that. That's a different situation. We're talking here about people who can still do a lot of things for themselves if they're motivated, if they want to change, if they can have faith and belief in themselves. And when you think about faith, it's like, why don't we have faith, right? We have faith in crazy things. So invisible things, right? You get home at night and you flick your light switch. Guess what? The light comes on. You don't think, gosh, is the light switch, if I do this, is the light going to come on or not? Because you've done it 100 times, right? Light switch comes on, you flick the switch, you turn it off, the light goes off. Similar to like your car, unless your car is having problems. You put in the key, you turn the key, your car starts, or you push the button and your car starts and it turns on. So how is it that we have faith in all of these other things that they're just going to happen? But we don't have belief or faith in ourselves, who we have the most control over. And we don't have faith in our abilities to improve or work out a situation when we've probably done some good things in the past. Where does all this lack of confidence come from? In part, it comes from mental blocks that we have, or negative life experiences that we've had, or something someone said to us to make us doubt our confidence. So past and present experiences that frame the way that we think, right? And the way that we think frames our ability to solve problems. So we have to stop comparing ourselves to other people or thinking that there's only one way to do something. to become tunnel vision, to just focus here. There's a lot of ways to do something. So if we can recognize that we have some faulty thinking, like, gosh, am I thinking right about this? Should I think differently? How can I think differently? We have to have faith that we're going to be led to the right decision and find the right person that can help us. Because in a lot of these caregiving situations, let's be honest, we need help. We don't know what we're doing. We've got to talk to other people to find out how things work, how they don't work, and all of that. And we have to be talking in our caregiving situation because we love this person, right? We don't want this person out of our life, but yet we realize that making a change could cause a few bumps in the road. So we have to start believing that good things can happen every day, that a blessing or a miracle, it's on the way. It's behind the next turn. It's the next phone call. It's something. And so we have to learn how to manage our emotions to focus on the positive, which is number 4 in all of this. So no more feeling angry or resentful or making comparisons or blaming other people. Just stop it. Think of yourself how you feel like when you're happy and you're doing something you love and you're optimistic and everything's good and you're seeing rainbows and flowers and happiness, right? Why not put a little bit of that blessing or that miracle into your life every day? Wake up and say, oh my gosh, it's a new day. What blessing or miracle is going to come into my life today? And look for and appreciate those little things. Could be something as simple as, you know what, a friend texted you to say, hey, I'm thinking of you today. Or like something actually goes your way, right? You don't have a problem. It's like, oh my God, isn't that nice? Imagine good things. Be thankful and more good things will come into your life. You almost have to retrain your brain to think this way. And model this behavior for other people in your life, for the person that you care for. Blessings and miracles don't have to be these huge life-changing events. They can be just simple things that make us feel good. Somebody gives you a compliment, right? You chat with a stranger in the line at the grocery store. Somebody lets you in line in front of you. I mean, there's so many little positive things that can happen in life that we just sometimes discount because we're so negative about something else. Also ask yourself how this care situation that you're in today, as frustrating as it may be, good Lord, right? How it could be a blessing or a miracle. What's the lesson that you're learning? Are you learning that you should pay more attention to your health because maybe your parents didn't and now they're having all these health problems? Are you learning that you should be saving more money today because, wow, in-home caregivers, assisted living, it's expensive? Are you saying maybe I should look at long-term care insurance as another way to pay for this? Again, more ways to do the same thing, more ways to accomplish the same thing if we think about it and find experts and people who are willing to help us. So look at every experience, positive or negative, as a lesson where you might be able to learn something. So if you're anxious, if you're stressed out, acknowledge your feelings, share them with the right people, figure out what the problem is, be very clear on how you're going to solve it, and then have the faith and the belief to make the change happen, because you can. You have the choice, and you have the ability to believe in yourself to make these changes. So start believing in yourself and the beauty of life and the fact that things can get better. And it doesn't matter if you're the caregiver or the care receiver, you have time to change your life. You can do it if you believe that you can do it, if you want to do it, and if you commit. I thank you all so much for being here. I'm Pamela D Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert and advocate. Please visit my website, PamelaDWilson.com, for more helpful information. There are online courses there, articles, my podcast, The Caring Generation. I have an online caregiver support on Facebook called The Caregiving Trap, which you are welcome to request to join. So much hope and help. Please do like this video, share my channel with other people who are looking for hope, help, and support. I'll see you all again soon in another video.